All right, let's talk about it. Why does it feel like it's so expensive to live in the U.S. right now? Well, that's because it is. More and more people are struggling to make ends meet. You know, if and there's so many factors that go into that, and one of them, let's just let's just get down to the root issue of a household income. Okay, the majority of people in the United States is making around $75,000 a year. That's a single income for a house. Now, if you have a small family, you know, a husband and wife, and they have a child, the cost of daycare is so expensive that usually we would just rely on that one income. You know, whether it's the man or the woman, not saying it's always, you know, the man or whatever, but generally speaking, the woman stays at home with the child, right? So the income for that household is around $75,000. Now, the take home on a $75,000 a year income is around what, 40, just over maybe $4,000, right? Now, if your rent is $2,000, you're more than 50% or 50% of your take home pay. You should be closer to 30%, but the cost of housing is so expensive now that's just not the case anymore. The majority, 1 in 2, but 50% of people who are renting are more than 50% of their take home pay. Now let's just watch this guy right here, and he can kind of break it down for us a little better about, you know, what it's costing here.
It's not the overspending, it's the cost of living. Here is a breakdown of the average Gen Z and millennials' cost of living in today's world. So number one is rent. Everyone knows that Gen Z and millennials have to have a roommate. So splitting a 2-bedroom apartment with utilities is around $1,500. If you have a car, a $12,000 to $15,000 used car is still going to run you $400 a month. Car insurance and gas is another $300. Student loan payment, $500. You're going to have groceries for $500. You're going to have personal care, doctor's appointments, hair, gym, about $150, and then cell phone and miscellaneous $150. That's $3,500 a month, which is...
So he's at $3,500 a month, and like you said, most of these younger people are not able to even get a home without a roommate. You know, how's a young family going to get started with roommates? It doesn't work out very well, and you know, so he's at $1,500 a month, which is pretty cheap in my area. No, you're not finding anything for $1,500. I mean, just your 1-bedroom apartments are starting at over $1,700 a month, and everything else is pretty spot on. I mean, let's say you got a reasonable car payment these days, $400. It's, yes, you can go out and buy a car for cash if you can, but the problem is saving up that amount of cash to be able to purchase that vehicle. And when we're living paycheck to paycheck, there's no room for extra money to put away for savings. I'm not even talking about retirement. I'm just talking about a savings account, and then you want to have that savings, a little bit of a backup. So are you going to take that $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 and go pay cash for a car? It's not usually the way it works.
Baseline. Do you know how much $3,500 a month is? $70,000 a year, or $34 an hour. Because after you take out taxes, put $300 for health insurance, and do a healthy $500 401k contribution, that leaves you at $3,500. This is no fun, no savings.
$3,500 to $4,000, and that's, you know, $3,500 if you're putting into a 401k. But not many people's putting in a 401k these days, especially at $500. Now, if you have a company match or whatever, yeah, you want to try to put in as much as you can. But some people are having to back off that 401k just because of the cost of living. So he's spot on here. About $3,500 to $4,000 a month is what your take-home pay is, and just the bills that he has right here is a majority of that take-home pay. Now let's look at the debts.
Savings, no maintenance, no clothes, no kids, no traveling, no vacations, no bachelor parties, no weddings, no funerals, no clothes, no school supplies, nothing. And this is paycheck to paycheck. And on top of it, they're holding $40,000 of student loan debt, a $15,000 car, and if they ever wanted to buy a house with closing costs and the down payments, another $50,000. So they need $105,000. So even if they were somehow able to scrounge up after $70,000 of paycheck to paycheck, $5,000 to go to a concert, to have avocado toast, whatever it is, $5,000 a year. It would take them 20 years to pay off this debt and save up for a house. 20 years of living with the roommate where that rent's going up, and they're making $70,000 a year as a college graduate. The average person in this country makes $50,000. It is not the overspending. It is a cost of living crisis. It's not.
And I like how he puts it. It's a cost of living crisis, right? Because it's not that our pay is not keeping up with the cost of living. The cost of living is exponentially growing faster than the salaries, what you can make can actually keep up with. It's more than the employers can pay. So yes, our pay, our salary is not increasing, but think about it. Everything is increasing, right? I'm a small business owner. I have to pay my employees. The cost of living is increasing faster than we can bring in enough income to pay the employees what that cost of living is. Now people say, well, maybe you shouldn't even be in business. How is that even a valid claim? Do you not understand business? And everyone's going to say, Walmart, McDonald's are profiting billions of dollars, but you got to look up the expenses that they have every month. How much does it cost to run these operations? And we can say profit all day long. On paper, I can see profit, but what's going through the bank, the cash flow, the payments that aren't being made from the customers, the delinquent accounts, and all that stuff adds up. There's not enough money to pay for benefits and more. I would love to pay the guys more. They earn it. They deserve it. But the business itself is running as efficiently and reducing expenses as much as we can. It's still just enough to keep the business going. Now, let's just take a look at another point of view here, and let's just talk about it.
Sorry, but I don't agree with the whole idea that the cost of living is that much higher today than it was like 15 years ago. Now, I do want to clarify, I'm not talking about housing. That situation's
Well, you got to talk about housing. You can't sit here and say that you don't think that the cost of living is high as they claim and not factor in housing. That's where the majority of our money is going, and there's not much left over. So even if everything else just goes up a little bit and housing goes up exponentially, there's still not a lot left at the end of the day for anything. This isn't adding up to me.
But when it comes to the cost of living for everything else, I think Americans are just way too used to a ton of mini luxuries that we all have now that people just don't want to give up. I'm talking about things like $2,000 iPhones, streaming subscriptions, meal delivery. There are things like Amazon Prime and other subscriptions like that. And of course, everyone now takes a supplement or multiple supplements.
He's kind of got a point, as far as, yes, people want to have stuff, but I think people are already budgeted so thin that he's talking about people who have a little bit of extra money. The majority of these people that we're talking about don't have any extra money. They don't have time for the going out to eat and the DoorDashes and stuff like that. They're already stretched too thin. I mean, he's talking about people that are making a better living, maybe in that $100,000 income range. Maybe they have two incomes and they're able to be in that $100,000 mark, but still, there's not a leftover, at the end of the day for anything else.
Cost money, and then the cosmetic things that people do because everyone is seen so much on social media rather than in real life. A lot of the people who need to live on a strict budget, they're just not willing to. Not to mention the people who are.
The problem with living on a strict budget is where are you going? How are you going to grow out of that? You're on a strict budget with the income that you have, and what happens after that? You're on a strict budget, okay? You're paying your bills every month, and there's nothing left over, right? Everyone's like, well, get a side hustle, do this. What's the side hustle? Where's that money coming from? Are you going to start a lawn mowing business, a pressure washing business? What is it that you're going to start? A dumpster business, a trash collection, or a junk removal business? I mean, they've got all these side hustles that people are posting on YouTube and TikTok, and they make it sound like it's all wonderful. But a lot of time and effort goes into that. A lot of these side hustles, to make it work, becomes a full-time job. There's just not enough money
struggling or say they're struggling when it comes to cost of living. These are the kind of people that would find a way to struggle in the perfect economy, like the best economy we've ever had. These people would still find a way to struggle. I'm just not.
And in some cases, that's true. You know, some people are just going to always struggle. They can't do what it needs. If there is any extra money, that's what they're going to do. They're going to do the DoorDash, or they're going to buy the luxury things. They're not going to be able to put any money away. But you got to look at the fact that there may not even be enough money to begin with. So with this channel, let's just look at some things that maybe we can do. Let's put some stuff in the comments. Like, what are you doing? What is, if you have a side hustle, what is your side hustle? What is your struggles? But what I want to know mostly is, what would an extra $500 a month do for you? What would you do with an extra $500 a month, or even $1,000 a month? Would you pay down credit card debt, pay off some bills, try to find a way to invest it, or just would that help you live month to month? Let me know what you would do with an extra $500. Anyways, let's see how we can make this better together. We're all struggling, right? More than 50% of people you see day to day are struggling. Don't forget that. When you go to the store and you see people that look tired and maybe rude, people cutting you off in traffic, everyone's just exhausted. We're working as hard as we can to make ends meet. And it's tough out there. So let's work together and see what we can do to hopefully make this a little better.